Now, tonight's adventure into the unknown.
Shut up and sit down.
These are the 10 items that I chose to survive for as long as I can out here. I had a list in my head that was totally set in stone. Since I've got here, I've changed at least a couple of the items. This is my sleeping bag. It's a 20 below sleeping bag. It's a little overkill for this area, but when you're wet and you're cold, you're gonna definitely want a nice retreat out of the cold. This is my knife. With a knife, I can recreate some of the other necessities, such as cordage and fire, a container, stuff like that. So with this knife, I can create other items that will help me survive. My next item is a ferrocerium rod. This will throw out a spark approximately 3,000 degrees, and if I've processed my tinder correctly, I can obtain a fire with this. Next item is an axe. I'm gonna have to be using the wilderness around me to create shelter. You're only limited by your imagination. Okay, my next item is a saw. My next item is a metal container. I can use it for purifying water. I could use it to pick berries. I could use it to heat water and wash with. The container is a very important part of living out in the wilderness. Okay, so here I have my fishing kit, 25 hooks inside this container. And then I've got my fishing line. With this fishing line, I can make traps, I can make snares. I could, in a pinch, lash things together. Okay, my next item here is some paracord. Good quality, long-term cordage is very vital to be living out in the wilderness or trying to survive for any length of time out in the wilderness. My next item, 5 pounds of a mixture of split peas, lentils, red beans, and black beans. I want to use it sparingly, but this is definitely going to help me stay out there during those times when natural food sources are scarce. And then I've got a gill net. All right, these are my 10 items. Wish me luck. Would I do this show without the prize? Yes, I would. This is an amazing opportunity to test yourself and to test your skill level that normal people don't have the opportunity to do, because you always have to go to work, you have to be able to provide for your family. This allows me to put my normal life on hold and just immerse myself. It's just an amazing opportunity. The money is definitely a nice bonus, because if I win, that money would allow me to be able to make life changes, and I'm ready for that. Holy crap. What the hell have I done? Wow. Oh, and there they go. Holy smokes.
Alone at last.
Oh, welcome to SARGE Approved. Hey, Frenzy.
Hey, Sarge.
It's been a while.
It has been a while since before Christmas.
I know, it's been like 3 weeks or so now since we've done a show, and I think that's the longest we've gone, and it feels a little weird.
Yeah, it feels good, though.
Does it? It does feel good. And we're coming back after the 3-week hiatus over the holidays with a pretty badass guest.
Yes, we do have a badass guest. Our guest tonight is Larry Roberts from History's channel Alone Season 2.
How's
How's it going, Larry?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good.
Awesome.
And a fellow Minnesotan, I might add.
Yes, that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We can all freeze together.
Yes.
Yeah. The weather's so shitty right now.
It's just...
yeah.
It's
I was out
tundra.
cutting wood today, and it's a little brutal. You got to put serious layers on, that's for sure.
Ugh, were you cutting wood with an axe or a chainsaw?
Chainsaw. I burn too much wood to use an axe. I use an axe for fun and chainsaw for real.
There you go.
That's a workout. Chopping wood with an axe.
Yeah,
That's a hell of a workout.
lumberjack style.
That's why all lumberjacks are gigantic.
Yeah, the Paul Bunyans.
So as Frenzy mentioned, you are on season 2 of Alone. You're among a elite group of guests we've had on the show from Alone, because me and Frenzy are fans of the show. We love the show. We have like guests on there, or people that have been on there, including yourself, that were like, oh my god, it'd be so cool to talk to this guy, or it'd be so cool to talk to this lady. And we got a chance to talk to you. When was that?
It was, I want to say it was in June or July.
Something like that. We had Tracy Wilson on from season 2. And you guys were both at the Pathfinders gathering. Is that what it's called? Pathfinders?
Yeah, Pathfinder Gathering, yep. That's with Dave Canterbury. Dave Canterbury was on Dual Survival for, 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
I've taken some classes from him, and now I actually teach for his school.
Very
nice.
cool. And you went to Rabbit Stick too after that, right? You and Tracy was there too, right?
Tracy went to Rabbit Stick this year. I was busy,
Okay.
so I wasn't able to make it. But I went to Winter Count, and so the Winter Count's in Arizona. It's in February. These gatherings are primitive skills or survival skills type gatherings where you pay a set fee. They include the camping, include food, depending on the gathering you go to. And there's all these different, like the Pathfinder gathering, it's mostly Pathfinder instructors that teach there. But like Rabbit Stick and Winter Count, you've got these people that, and no disrespect, I mean they're awesome people, but I mean they live under a rock, and they're happy with that. They live under a rock. They don't have any technology for the most part, and they just practice a lot of primitive skills. So it's a good place to go to meet people that you wouldn't be able to connect with like on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. You just have to go to these gatherings, and you can learn flint knapping or making clay pots out of natural clay in the earth, hide tanning. I even took a class with silversmithing at Rabbit Stick.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now it's time to hear a word from our fucking sponsors.
Sarge here.
Frenzy here.
They're here to tell you about our sponsor, Northland Vapor Company. They're serving the global vaping community. What they do is they provide quality and non-costly e-liquid. For all you vape heads out there, this is important. They source top quality raw materials and do not use any artificial coloring, preservatives, or sweeteners in their products.
That's awesome. They also have 13 amazing flavors that come in 2 different sizes. 120 mils, which is priced at $14.99, and the 30 mil bottle option, which is priced at $6.99. That's like half the cost of normal other places.
Than most places.
Yep. And they have some awesome flavors. The most popular right now is called Nuts and Cream. You're going to love these nuts. And they also have another flavor that is called Tangerine Dream, and it is oh so dreamy.
Northland Vapor also offers free domestic shipping on orders of $50 or more. And free shipping on international orders of $100 or more. Everybody loves free shipping.
Yeah, that's
Hell
awesome. Yeah. You can check out their website, northlandvapor.com, and use the code SARGE20 for 20% off e-liquid and swag. They have some pretty sweet swag.
They got some badass swag.
Awesome hats, t-shirts, stickers, all
Hell
the
yeah.
things. And while you're there, make sure that you sign up for their Northlander Rewards program. You can earn points towards future orders, get discounts, savings, get promotional stuff, find out when new flavors are coming out. Just do that. And make sure Northland Vapor Company is on your radar. Be the cloud.
Do it.
Do it now.
Later, fuckers.
Bye.
Hey everyone, it's Kevin Goatee from Comics Watching Comics. Guys, make sure you check out Comics Watching Comics on Amazon Video. Season 4 just went up. Season 5 will be up any day now, and Season 6 hopefully will be up by Christmas time. And oh yeah, don't forget to check out the live Comics Watching Comics show that happened a few weeks ago at Gotham Comedy Club. That also should be up by Christmas. Thanks again for watching Comics Watching Comics. Check out our website, comicswatchingcomics.com, and our social media at Comics Watching on Twitter, as well as Comics Watching Comics on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks a lot.
Sarge here.
Frenzy here.
To talk to you about Alpine Hemp and their awesome hemp oil products. Okay, Alpine Hemp makes full-spectrum, whole-plant hemp oil, also known as CBD oil, which is extracted from the hemp plant, and it's not psychoactive. That means it can't get you high, and you're not going to fail a drug test.
Exactly. Hemp oil is made up of cannabinoids, and these are natural compounds that are found in whole-plant hemp extract. They can be used to help with pain, inflammation, anxiety, cigarette addiction, acne, mood swings, sleep issues, and so many more things. It's got so many beneficial properties.
Alpine Hemp is committed to creating the highest quality and most effective hemp oil products on the market. They source high-quality, organic ethanol extracted hemp oil. This allows them to have an all-natural product from start to finish.
Boom. And you're probably wondering, is it legal? Yes, absolutely. It's completely legal because it's extracted from hemp grown organically in the US of A. Alpine Hemp offers their quality products in 3 different forms. They have capsules, tinctures, put a little dip in your coffee, and vape e-liquid.
Yes, and you can do all this research on your own, or you can go to alpinehemp.com and get more info.
Yeah, and while you're there, use the code SARGE20 for 20% off of your order.
Beautiful! Boom!
Bye!
Hey everybody, it's Kevin Goatee from SportsBook Box Office Podcast. Jeff and I cannot wait to have Irene Bremist on our next show, and a bunch of other comics we even haven't booked yet. But I promise we'll get some great guests for you in the upcoming weeks. I promise you this though, we will be talking a lot about football and how the playoff picture is heating up in the NFL. We're also going to talk about a lot of the holiday films that are coming out. Thank God we're past the doldrums of September and October. That's the Sportsbook Box Office Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, you name it, we're on it. Check us out on Instagram, Sportsbook Box Office, as well as Sportsbook Box Office on Twitter. Now, back to Sergeant Melissa.
Yeah, we had the chance to meet with Tracy and also George Wells. He was with her.
You guys went to Rabbit Stick then?
No, we didn't go. They were in Minnesota, I think around the time that they stopped and visited, the day before they stopped and visited you and hung out with you.
That's right.
And then
that's right. I remember now.
They taught us some stuff, and it was pretty cool.
That was awesome. Tracy and George went out of their way to make time and see us one evening this last summer, and we had told them we wanted to learn how to start a fire with the bow. Bow drill. Yes, bow drill. And that was one that me and Frenzy had always been talking about. Like, that would be the one that we really want to try. And so they brought like all this handmade gear and everything, and George ended up running out into the woods and making a bow real quick.
Yeah.
Because the one he had wasn't. He's like, this one isn't good for you. I'm gonna go find one. And he threw one together in 5 minutes. And we had like a little competition using the flint and steel method and stuff. And
Tracy had her own personal ferro rods that she made with that. I can't remember what the wood was, but it's a specific
fat wood.
Yes, and it smells so good too.
That is badass. That was one of the coolest things that I got out of that little. Like, she was with us for 2-3 hours, something like that.
Yeah,
and just taught us a bunch of stuff right in that, and condensed. It was obviously a condensed version because we didn't have a ton of time. It was getting late already, but that fat wood. That was one of the coolest things because I had no idea that existed.
I didn't either.
Before.
And you just shred it off and use that as your tinder.
Yeah, the handle of the striker, or of the, was it the striker? No.
No, it was the ferro rod.
It was the ferro rod. Mm-hmm. The handle of it is made of this fat wood, and you can scrape off shavings of it to use as tinder.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff. They get a lot of it down south. We do have some of it up here, but basically, if you think of a pine knot, that's basically fat wood, and you can buy boxes of it from Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also buy it on Amazon, apparently, too.
Right, but how cool is that part of your equipment is tinder? You have dry tinder there, and it's like, doesn't it have some kind of oils to it or something that makes it extra flammable?
Yeah, it's got a lot of pine resin impregnated into the wood. It's very... they get it a lot down south. There'll be whole trees that'll just die, and they'll just be totally resin impregnated. Up here, most of the time I find it, if you find like a pine tree and you cut a branch, it can be a dead branch as long as it's not super dead, ancient, but right where the branch comes out of the trunk of the tree, that's where you'll find most of the resin. And then once in a while, if they log, or if you get lucky and you get a tree that fell over, the stump will have some of that stuff in it.
Okay. Yeah, and the coolest thing is it even starts on fire when it's wet too. Like it can, even if it gets wet, it still ignites.
Yeah, and you can feel when you're shaving it off, like it's soft. It's got a softness to it, and it feels almost moist in a way.
Yeah. And it's good.
Some of it can be kind of moist, and some of it can be really hard. You will dull your chainsaw and dull your axe really bad trying to harvest it.
I bet. That's super cool, though.
So that was really cool. I got to learn how to do the bow drill, and we both ended up getting it. I had like a giant one I was using.
Yeah,
it was a legitimate bow. Like I could have went and hunted deer with it. It was that big. But it was really cool. So then she gave us a couple of handmade ferro rods.
She gave me a flint and steel.
Mm-hmm. And showed us how to use the one that you bought me correctly.
Yeah.
They're both awesome people. George is
so great.
George and I have taught classes together. I actually met George on the internet on Facebook because he was doing. He's really big into hammock camping. I do a bit of hammock camping, but not in the temperatures that he does. He'll go out and hang. I think the coldest he's done, when I first saw his posts, he was doing stuff and nobody was really giving him credit for it, but he was hanging in like 17 below weather.
Jeez.
And and I'm like, dude, you are really doing a great job with this. And then we started talking a little bit, and he's like, well, we should go camping sometime, but maybe we should meet to make sure, one of us isn't an axe murderer or something. So he came up to my house, and I actually helped him with the bow drill a little bit, because I had seen him posting some pictures of some things, and I saw some things that he was doing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he came up, and I helped him out with that. We just did a little walk around my property, and then we went. Do you know of the Superior Hiking Trail up in Duluth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we've backpacked that, just on a couple of day trips, 2 or 3 times. And I just met him through Facebook, and he's like one of my best friends for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I have to credit you for helping me to get the bow drill to get my coal going, because he was such a good teacher, super patient, and just very, and he was like, I've never been able to teach someone how to do it before. So I was like, win-win, we both won today.
He doesn't talk like that, Francie.
Nice.
Well, I'm just saying. I didn't say it at a high voice like
how
that.
Awesome would that
but
be?
He was really cool.
So you taught him that then, huh, Larry?
I wouldn't
skills?
go so far as to say that I taught him. I would say that I gave him some pointers to help him out with
there you go.
becoming successful with it.
Hone those skills a bit.
It's a hard thing. And you don't realize how physical it is once you're doing it, and you're like, it's still not there yet? Like, what's going on?
I'm
tired. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of technique, and it is hard. It took me... didn't have anybody to show me. All I was able to learn off of YouTube, and it took me a year of off and on practice before I finally was able to get it.
So what got you started in this whole bushcraft, survival, wilderness, subsistence type? I don't know, this whole genre. What got you started in this? Because it's something that's really kind of blown up lately in as a whole in our society with the popularity of shows like Alone and Survivor Man and Life Below Zero, shows like that. It's something that a lot more people have been taking notice of. But I imagine that this isn't something that's new to you.
It's not new to me, but it's new to me to realize that there's other people out there that like this kind of stuff. I always joke around with everybody that when I was a kid, I always wanted to grow up and be a Native American. I wanted to live in a teepee. I wanted to be a Sioux Indian. Yeah. I loved their culture. I studied them. I actually took some community college classes in their culture and other cultures in the Great Basin and stuff. I just really liked that primitive technology. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize there was other people out there that liked this kind of stuff. When I was a kid, I would go to the local bookstore. We had some kind of strange bookstores where I was growing up, but you could, they had books, the old Army manuals on improvised explosives and survival, and I read them all and took notes, and just, it was just awesome information. And then nobody else was into that. I didn't tell anybody I was into that. I was practicing primitive traps out in my backyard. And then I met my wife. I met her in high school, and we, got married and had kids and just devoted our whole lives to our kids. And then as our kids started getting older, these survival shows started coming on TV, and I'm like, well, there's people out there that know this stuff like way better than I do, and they actually offer classes. Man, Woman, Wild with Michael Hawk was one of my favorites. Also, Dual Survival with Dave Canterbury and Cody Lundeen. Mm-hmm. And, they're definitely scripted shows, but the skills that they were showing were things that I had never seen before, and I didn't know that there were people out there that knew this kind of stuff. I was too busy raising kids. Right. And, my kids got older, and my wife, we were watching a show one day, and my wife's like, why don't you research those guys, Dave Canterbury and Cody Lundeen, and take a class from one of them? So I researched. Cody Lundeen's price range was way out of my league, so I took a class from Dave, and I just ate it up. I loved it. I had already studied a lot of stuff on YouTube, so I did pretty good. Yeah. And then a year later, I took an advanced class with him, and I actually, right before I went to his class, I had bought his new knife that he came out with, and I was messing around with the sheath. I don't like the sheath. It had a locking mechanism on it. But anyway, I pulled it out and sliced my left hand, which I'm left-handed. I had, I think, 12 stitches in it. Oh, and that was
that's a nasty cut.
Yeah, 2 days before I went to his advanced class. And his advanced class, you don't eat for 3 days, and you need to do a bow drill fire, you need to do all this other stuff. Well, they looked at my wound, and they're like, we don't know about this. And I'm like, don't worry, guys, I think I can do this. Well, I came in top of his class, and then shortly after that, maybe a year or so later, I got accepted for a loan, and I think I kind of proved what I was made of there, and then so now I'm an instructor for Dave as well.
That's awesome. So you did a bow drill. You had to do a bow drill class with 12 stitches in your hand.
Yeah, with my bow hand.
I was gonna say, was that your bow? I'm left-handed too, but I do weird stuff. Like I eat left and right, but then I do everything else right. I'm a weirdo.
You're like
ambidextrous. I wouldn't in call a way.
You.
I do that
weirdo,
too.
I'd call you borderline ambidextrous.
You do that too, Larry?
Yeah, I shoot a gun left-handed. I throw right-handed. I catch right-handed. With my left hand or whatever. I bat right-handed.
Me too.
I write left-handed. Eat left-handed.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, yeah. You guys are a little bit weird.
We can adapt and overcome with we use both of our hands.
Right.
You guys are hybrids.
That's awesome.
So this wasn't something you were necessarily practicing on any type of real regular basis. It was just something that you were interested in. until these shows started getting popular. And I mean, how often were you actually implementing the survival skills in bushcraft?
Never before the shows came out.
Really?
I was practicing primitive traps.
That's even more impressive.
Yeah, well, when I get into something, I get into it pretty hard.
Yeah.
I get my wife always tells me, you always need a hobby, and when practicing the bow drill, practicing flint napping, practicing whatever, I'll just sit in the garage for hours and weeks and months on end practicing a skill until I feel confident with it, and then I'll move on to another skill.
You're lucky you have an understanding
I packed
wife.
a lot of experience into a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, props to your wife. Well, and I think that it's pretty cool too that there's this opportunity for these classes happen, and that people can actually go and meet with people one-on-one in person and learn these skills versus just having to look it up on YouTube. There's those things are available for people.
There's only so much you can get from YouTube.
Right, and it's just, I don't know, I guess that's why I've always been a fan of Alone and just kind of that genre, is that every single person that I've ever encountered that is into that kind of stuff, they're into teaching it to other people, and they're just genuine, really kind. Yeah, but
we need dudes like you, Larry Roberts.
Absolutely.
Because when the zombies show up, if or when, there's going to be a lot of people who are they'll be done. Bye-bye. Do not have the skills. Whether it's the zombies or a nuke drops or whatever, power outage, there's a lot of people who are not, do not have the capability and the skills and experience to survive outside of the norms that we have in society now. And it's really cool seeing how these shows have really just kind of blown up and brought a lot of attention to this whole thing, just basic survival skills.
Yeah,
stuff that everyone should know.
That our ancestors used to just do regularly because that's how they lived.
Didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
That was operating an iPad for them.
Mm-hmm.
Starting a fire was, to them was us turning on Netflix. You know what I mean? But it's
everybody's culture too. It's not just certain. Sometimes folks get hung up on, it's mostly the natives' cultures. It was all of our cultures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way back, Stone Age type primitive technology was all of ours heritage, and it's really neat to be able to produce string or cordage from stinging nettle or basswood bark, and you can look at it, and it's almost, to me, primitive skills are like an art. I find, and I'm probably weird about this, but I find a certain amount of art in, for sure, like flint napping for arrowheads, but also even just basic things where just string from cordage and the way that it wraps around each other and the way that it can, hold together. It's just, I don't know, I just love it. And not only are people, it's not just the zombie apocalypse. Think about Katrina and think about the different hurricanes and different things. People don't even know how to purify their water. They don't even know. I've talked to many an outdoorsman around here that don't even know that all you have to do is boil your water and it's purified.
Yeah.
And as long as it doesn't, have chemicals and stuff in it. But if you just go to a local pond and it looks just nasty, you can filter it with some charcoal if you can make a fire, and then boil it, and it will actually taste good, and it's totally fine. I talked to a guy. I actually took a basic class with a guy that I've kind of lost contact with. I stayed up really late talking to him. He was kind of a hippie from California, which is fine. I've lived in California too, but he figured that when folks talk about the zombies, and they all kind of say it tongue-in-cheek, the zombies are going to be the people that have been hungry for 3-4 days.
Yeah, right.
If you've never gone without food for 3 or 4 days or longer, I've gone without food for quite a while. And if you see your children and you see your wife hungry, it's a very eye-opening and helpless feeling. And people are going to do whatever they need to do to feed themselves and feed their family.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's one of the scariest things, because obviously zombies are probably not ever going to happen. actual zombies. But, there's, the potential of some other crazy disaster happening.
Or natural disasters.
Natural disaster, fucking asteroid slams into the planet and everything goes dark. Or, some massive power outage, whatever it may be. If it does get to some kind of apocalyptic type state, and obviously, probably never going to happen in our lifetime, but someday it might happen, and that is one of the big fears, is not necessarily zombies, but just people having to adjust to this new environment, this new climate, and everyone just turning on each other.
Well, look at Puerto Rico. They had to go and they had to endure the hurricane, and I want to say that at least half of the country still doesn't have power. And when was that hurricane? Yep. Months and months and months ago.
Yeah, that's not even a major, like nuclear war or anything.
No,
that's
just
basic natural disaster.
Exactly.
People don't even know how to survive.
Nope, they don't.
And that's the thing. That's one of the main values of this whole thing with bushcraft. I mean, is that the best way to probably describe it? Survival, bushcraft.
Yeah, survival is more. To me, survival is more hardcore. Surviving. You're hungry. You don't have any food with you. Things are different. Bushcraft is more playing around in the woods, carving spoons, doing bow drill fires for fun, things like that. Survival to me is you got lost when you're hunting.
Right.
Maybe you remember to bring a lighter, but then you also remember to bring your space blanket and your plastic so you can make a super shelter, and you're staying out when it's 20 below and cutting wood to make a fire to last all night long.
Right.
Whereas bushcraft is you're camping in maybe a campground, or you're just going out with a tarp and practicing.
Right. Well, the important thing is that the popularity of these shows and how it's brought so much more attention to all of society, and people are flocking towards these survival classes, and they're tuning into these survival shows, and that it's awesome if it only ends up saving like a handful of people. Somebody who gets into some hunting trip accident, they get lost,
or hiking, they get lost,
they get lost, whatever. What do you got? You got some music playing in the background there, Mr. Roberts.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I went downstairs and my wife is watching some sappy English movie, so
makes sense.
I'll move.
They all do.
No, they don't.
They're all watching sappy.
Do.
They're all watching sappy.
They all want to
British.
be the queen, and they all want to have a king, and it's just, oh my god, it's unbelievable.
Well, what I was saying is, I just think that one of the great things about how the popularity of survival in this whole thing is that it's something that I think everyone kind of needs. Everyone should at least have some kind of basic know-how, some basic skills, if not expert, at least basic, so that if shit does hit the fan at some point, because people, you can't plan for it. Nobody plans for accidents. That's why they're called accidents. And if shit does hit the fan, they have some basic know-how, and they improve their chances of getting out of that situation alive.
Yeah, exactly. And it's basic stuff. I did some videos. I have a YouTube channel. It's just called Larry Roberts. But I did some videos where the title of them were called Clothed and Confident. But one of them was a lost hunter thing. And the guy that I did the videos with, he lived in Kansas, and he would do a video based on the subject, and then I would do a video based on the subject, and then we'd publish them and compare them. But we interviewed hunters from our respective areas, and I want to say like half didn't carry a lighter out in the woods. If they weren't smokers, they weren't carrying lighters. And just a basic thing like a lighter, I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I don't know what it is right now. It's got to be at least 5 below where I'm at. But could you imagine getting stuck out in the woods with just the clothes on your back and no way to make a fire, or having, because most people don't know how to make a bow drill fire.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
Or being in a car accident or something and your car goes in the ditch and you don't have anything on you and you're basically freezing because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So Larry, as somebody who's, and we haven't mentioned this yet, but on season 2 of Alone, you were in, was it the top 3?
Yeah, and then
that finished.
He was the second. He was there for 64 days. In the winter, it was 66.
64 days alone on Vancouver Island,
British Columbia. Yep.
So you're a legitimate badass. You have been issued an official badass card. Your card carrying.
Your badge is in the mail.
Yes.
Right.
You should have gotten it by now. If you haven't gotten it by now,
I'm making you one.
Yeah. So if, like Frenzy's scenario here, you're stuck out you're in the middle of this weather right now, 5 below zero. There's snow on the ground, and you didn't bring a lighter with you. You, Larry Roberts, what would you do? How would you start a fire, or could you even start a fire in these conditions?
Yes, I could start a fire for sure. I could.
How?
Primitive fire bow drill is never 100% guaranteed, but I've practiced it substantially. It would really suck if I didn't have any string or cordage with me, but you always, for the most part, usually have shoelaces that you could use, and I actually have a belt buckle that has a bow drill divot in it, so that's my belt buckle is my handhold.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right.
That's badass.
And then my belt buckle is also a flint striker, so you can do that flint and steel.
Shit, you're survival ninja.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Right. Well, I'm like a Batman. I've got all these utilities.
Yeah, you are.
Survival Batman. So do you do the voice when you're starting your fire? I gotta keep my tinder, my bow drill.
And then we have a lot of swamps in Minnesota, so there's a lot of swamp grass. I don't know the technical name for it, but I call it swamp grass. And if you collect that, you can. I've actually helped my son's best friend. He came up and we did a video together, and I made him gather a whole bunch of grass. And he slept. I want to say it got down to about 2 degrees, and he had 2 wool blankets and just slept on a big mat of grass, and he was totally warm. So you could stuff. I mean, if you were starting to really get cold, you could stuff that grass. Or cattail fluff. You could put cattail fluff in your shoes. You could put the grass inside your clothes. You could make a mat of grass because you definitely don't want to even sit on the ground or sit on a tree or anything because it's just that stuff's just a cold sink. So you always want to have insulating material between you and the ground.
But what if there's snow cover? Like right now, there's not a lot of snow, but the ground a lot of the ground is covered in snow. At least where we're at.
You just put that grass right on top of the snow and it insulates you.
But can you even find that grass? What if the grass is underneath the snow?
It's a lot of work. Survival isn't easy.
So you want to dig down and get that grass, even if it's underneath the snow?
The swamp grass I'm talking about is usually about 4 feet tall, and it will get bent over in the snow.
Like where cattails are too.
Yeah, if you go through and kick it, it'll spring back up, and there may be a couple of ice crystals on it and stuff, but that's fine. You need about 1.5 to 2 feet of grass between you and the ground, and you'll be insulated.
So it's that big, tall shit that's usually along the very outer edge of a swamp or a pond.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
Yep, exactly. Or a swamp that dries up like every year, so it's not like 2 feet deep, a swamp, but it's because I've got a creek that runs through my property, and there's just swamp grass on both sides everywhere.
Yep. I was just going to say a creek, and then it's more, it's deeper in the spring, but then in the summer it dries out.
You can even use, like I've used tree branches. You just it's not going to be the most comfortable thing, but at least you're insulated from the ground. You use you could use logs at first, and then twigs, and then the swamp grass, or just twigs and swamp grass, or just twigs. Anything to get you up off the ground.
Right. I would picture you could even use like pine tree needle branches or pine tree branches. Those are kind of cushy.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Pine boughs, spruce boughs, all that stuff. That stuff's more in northern Minnesota.
Right.
Everything that I practice, I try to do on just my little lot of land.
Okay.
Because my land doesn't have it's got a lot of aspen. It doesn't have a ton of like pine or anything like that.
Okay.
So if I can survive on my land, I should be able to survive just about anywhere.
So going to alone.
I wanted to find out how he was going to start a fire. He never explained how he was going to start a fire.
Oh, okay. Let's finish that.
I would do a bow drill method with the string I would use for my shoes.
There you go. And then his belt buckle.
Okay.
My belt buckle, or you can see, most people get trapped into always trying the most difficult thing first. They use a wooden bearing block. Fat wood bearing block works really good, but if you don't have fat wood, a live tree, hardwood tree will work. That's the most difficult. So if I didn't have my belt buckle, I would, I have to use that as a handhold. Use my shoestring for a string for the bow, and then aspen or basswood's one of the best in our area. But aspen, you find a ton of standing dead aspen all over the place, and that'll work great for a bow drill.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. It'll keep you,
keep you warm.
keep you warm, but it'll drain your energy. If you don't get it within the first couple hours, I would say punt and, do something different. Walk around a tree. Just keep on walking. You got to just keep active. If you lay down and you go to sleep, it ain't going to be good.
Not good.
So that's your go-to method with no lighter out in these -5 degrees below zero conditions is the bow drill. That's the move.
Well, depends on what you have access to. If you
What
carry
else can you do?
a magnifying glass, there's actually a fungus that grows on birch trees that's quite prevalent in our area, especially north. It's called chaga. And chaga, it's if you look up chaga, they use it a lot in Russia, and you can buy it off the internet. But it's very medicinal, but it also holds a coal extremely well. I've just gotten it. Kind of looks like a burl on the side of a tree. On a birch tree.
Uh-huh.
Can you get that? Can you get that on Amazon?
You can get that on Amazon.
I bet you can.
Yep.
That's so weird.
It's expensive, but you can get it. Yeah.
It almost looks like that insulator that if you have critters on your deck or like on the side of your house, you spray that foam
It's like sweet
to
potatoes.
fill it in, kind of.
It's like sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
And
it
it
looks
hardens.
like that, but when it's growing on the tree, it kind of looks like a pile of bear crap or a burl on the side of the tree because it's all black on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Weird. That's pretty cool.
That's kind of
You can also use a thing also that grows on the birch tree. It's called horse hoof fungus.
Horse hoof.
And that, I'm not as familiar with that as far as being medicinal, but it is a very good fire starter as well. You can actually, it's one of the few materials between that and chaga that will actually work with flint and steel without charring material.
Oh, so chaga is a type of mushroom. It says chaga mushroom.
They're all kind of funguses.
I guess it is a mushroom. I'm not
fungus.
100% technical with that. It's some sort of, it's a fungus that grows on the side of a tree.
Yeah. Weird. Crazy.
So yeah, alone.
Yeah, alone. So you were on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, and I believe seasons 1, 2, and 4 were filmed on Vancouver Island, and then the third one, for some reason, was filmed in Patagonia. It was
That's
a
correct.
different location.
Mixing it up.
I guess. Was it really? Because you were there in April. Was it April that you went there?
No, like September, October.
You're walking in the snow right now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the sound of Larry Roberts' boots walking in the snow.
It's the cold, frozen snow.
The crunch.
Yeah, I had to
snow.
go out and have a smoke, so sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm gonna go take a piss.
Okay. So I was looking up because obviously everyone gets to bring the articles of things that they want to bring for every episode, or for every contestant gets to bring what they want to bring. Do you think
to bring 10 items?
10 items, yep. And I was looking at yours, and the one that got me was the emergency rations, because you basically bought out because you were starving to death, because you were in pain, because you were so hungry. Is that correct? Do you think?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, and obviously, and if for people that haven't watched the show, shame on you. But if you haven't watched the show, everyone gets dropped off by a helicopter or by boat in a different vicinity, and depending on where you end up, your food sources, your kind of what you get to build for a shelter, all dependent on where you are, location-wise, predators, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's location was different. They said they tried to make everything as fair as possible, but everybody's location's different, so you have different resources available to you, and it's up to you on how you're going to use them.
Right. I remember watching an episode with Nicole, and she was on that kind of bay, and she was like, "Oh, there's this huge salmon that's like 57 pounds that's just in my net that I laid out there," and she's got bears running around, and she's like, "Hey, bear!" Like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, this lady's a badass. But
absolutely, she's like my sister. I mean, we're pretty close. She is basically my sister, but I tell you what, when she let that salmon go, I about put my foot through the TV.
I'm sure you did. So what did you kind of, beside when your emergency rations were gone, what did you sustain yourself on most of the time? What did you have available for you to eat?
I ate a lot of chanterelle mushrooms, and I ate a few fish, quite a few. I don't know, maybe 20 or 30, I can't remember. And then I ate a lot of mice.
You did?
Yeah, these mice, that was kind of a big deal for me during my time out there. I really don't like mice. They're really destructive. And they would just come through my shelter and poop on everything and keep me up at night, like eating like right next to my ear. I mean, I don't even know what they're eating, but they're just
mice are dicks.
Oh, they're just
that would drive me
dicks.
Crazy.
They just do what they want.
So I made some traps, and I just sat there and it's called a Paiute deadfall, and I squashed, I don't know, 10 or 15 mice at least, and it was just extreme euphoria being able to eat your enemy.
You little bastard.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So what do the mice taste like?
They don't taste like chicken.
Good. I was going to say.
I don't know. It's just like anytime you have a stew, like if somebody gives you a piece of venison, maybe that's not the greatest or whatever, or if you think that venison tastes gamey, which I don't, but you can put it in a crock pot, and usually I can't tell the difference between pork and beef and anything just about. So I would just sit there and boil it, and then that also retains more of the nutrients. I would actually see little oil bubbles kind of at the top of my stew when I would cook them. So I mean, I'm getting everything, and if you boil it long enough, even that you can even eat the bones.
Crazy.
So did you just throw the whole mouse in the pot, or what? I mean,
like a lobster?
Because I can't imagine you get a whole lot of meat off of a mouse. So I imagine you got to try to utilize every little bit of that body that you can, besides the hair.
On the tail.
Well, yeah, I'm not a big guts eater, so I didn't eat
the guts.
Like the internal organs. I mean, they're tiny anyway.
Right.
But I would just gut it and skin it, just like a deer. I'd gut it and skin it, chop off the head, chop off the tail, the paws, and just throw the whole thing in the stew pot.
Yeah, you gotta cut off the defining characteristics, don't you? Just to make it a little
right.
easier. The head, the feet, the tail, all that shit that makes it look like what it is. Just to kind of detach yourself a little bit, I'd imagine. I've never eaten a mouse, but I gotta imagine that helps.
Yeah. Remember my dad.
Hunger helps too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You're ready to eat anything.
That's the thing. I always say to Frenzy, I think the number one issue if I got stuck out, say if I was on a lone, if I was on Vancouver Island, my biggest issue would be the hunger, because I do not like going half a day without eating something. And just being hungry from skipping breakfast and having a late lunch, I'll think about it sometimes. God, I can't imagine if I was stuck out in the middle of nowhere and I didn't have the option to eat, unless I found my food or hunted my food or caught my food.
Yeah, and I'd be the opposite. I could go for days without eating. I'd be fine. But for me, it's if I didn't get good sleep, I'd be a wreck.
Well, that's another thing, too. Out in the wilderness, in a survival situation, sleep is something that isn't necessarily easy to come by.
No, it's not. But you need it.
It's not if you don't prepare correctly. And that's why I was talking about before, how you asked me if I was stuck out in the woods right now. It may take you 3 or 4 hours to make yourself a good shelter and a good bed.
Yeah.
And, but you need that. You need to exert some energy in order to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. And, I kind of thought that the hunger thing was maybe my own nemesis. Other people sometimes were more affected by the fact that they were alone. They were missing their family, their kids, whatever. But for me, it was straight up the hunger. And I've talked to some other folks from other seasons. And, the term PTSD is kind of thrown around a lot and everything. And I'm not sure that's the correct term, but we all have bad thoughts about hunger. I mean, it's something that has affected a lot of us that it's really hard to describe. I mean, I feel really bad for people that have to be continually hungry because, I mean, I only weigh like 160 some odd pounds, and I lost like 34, 35 pounds. And you literally get hunger pains. I mean, your stomach hurts.
Yeah, it affects
you dream,
everything.
I dreamed about food all the time. I would wake up choking on my drool. I would think about my buddy George or whoever, and I'd be like, oh, when I get back, I'm going to have lunch with him. And then you start thinking about what you're going to order from the restaurant and what restaurant you're going to go to. And then you think about when you go into the grocery store and about how you're just going to just extend both arms and just grab crap from the aisles and just throw it in your cart. I mean, it's a pretty bad deal being that hungry.
I can't imagine. I mean, I've never experienced that kind of hunger. Not
many people have.
Right.
No.
I can't imagine that because it's something that we take for granted. It's just so easy and readily available to just eat, snack. We never get hungry. We'll
think about how much stuff we throw away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I hate it.
Leftovers,
So much. It's so bad. Or how readily available crappy food is for people to eat. Like, let's just hop through the drive-thru quick.
Yeah, it's
gross.
very easy and inexpensive to eat as shitty as possible, and it's expensive and difficult to eat.
And it makes you feel like shit after you eat it.
Yeah,
It's
so good though.
It is. It's
so
fine,
good.
like once in a while, but
amazing.
But also, it shouldn't be this huge conglomerate thing where if you want to eat healthy and you want to buy vegetables and you want to, obviously the best way to do it would be to grow your own. But everybody's given that opportunity. But if you want to go to the grocery store, go ahead.
Well, it depends on your activity level as well, because if I was out, when I was out on a loan, if I had, a Big Mac or a double cheeseburger every day, it would have been good for me.
Right.
And I've actually been to a place. Anyway, some of the food that I was served lately was a lot of like chicken skin soup and like lamb fat soup. And these people eat this fat, like, you ever had that old weird grandpa or uncle or whatever, they would eat all the fat off the steak?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, it's just disgusting.
Yep.
Yes.
But these people are working so hard that they're eating that stuff, and it's fine for them, and they live for, they don't have the heart problems and stuff like that, but they're active in other ways,
Yeah, because their body processes it the right way. It's not just sitting there like you're just eating a bunch of
Exactly.
fat and then you just
It's not
sit
just
there.
you're not just sitting in front of the TV eating chips and a Big Mac.
It's
You're
actually
out
fueling
chopping
your
wood
body.
or doing
Yeah,
whatever.
it's actually being burned up and used for fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like the when I was in the Army, the MREs that we would get, they were insanely high in like carbohydrates and caloric content. Like if you ate that as your regular diet, as an average American civilian, you would definitely start packing on pounds.
You'd have type 2 diabetes probably.
Possibly. But it was designed because it was designed for a specific purpose. You're in the military, you're out in the field, and
Active.
you're constantly active, and you need that extra fuel because you're going to use it.
Yeah, you need it to basically survive.
Right, so you're not getting fat by eating MREs.
No.
You're maintaining and sustaining is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's crazy though. I did read that you lost like a fifth of your body weight.
That's insane.
That's like
Yeah,
a
I've got
7-year-old kid.
Well, I hadn't weighed that little since probably 10th grade, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm 47 now.
Yeah,
so,
there's a reason for
you know.
that.
So it was, how many days was it?
64.
I lasted
64.
64.
Mm-hmm.
So we should probably mention we've had Alan Kay on the show, the season 1 winner, and even though you didn't win season 2, you still lasted longer than Alan Kay, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I lasted longer than Alan, but I'm sure he could have probably lasted longer than me if he was on my same season. Alan's a pretty tough guy.
I
He is
know.
pretty tough.
Just got to get that little jab in there.
A little jabby jab.
He'll appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he'd appreciate it. That's funny.
Well, I thought I was all that in a bag of chips until season 3 came out and lasted like freaking 90 some odd days.
Well,
it was.
that's what I was reading is when even season 1, when they were explaining how the show worked, that they said the show could last up to a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they told us that, but there's no chance in hell it's going to last a year.
I'm sure
Right.
that they were just trying to cover
But
their
they
bases.
allow,
But
they allow that much time if somebody decides to get says be a hero.
yeah, did you, Larry? Did you have any encounters with mountain lions or black bears or any kind of predator type of thing?
I never had any encounters with black bears that I know of. I heard something by my site one night, and it was on 2 sides of me, and I thought for sure they were bears. And I got up and kind of screamed at them or whatever, and I didn't really hear anything more about it. I saw one old scat, wolf scat and bear scat, but I did hear kind of a funny thing maybe 50, 60 yards away from my very first shelter that sounded like a cat meowing. And I remember thinking, geez, who would be a big jerk and let a little cat loose out here?
I'm going to eat that cat.
Right. Well, I just thought I felt bad for it, because I'm a pet owner and I love cats and dogs and all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, then I moved locations. I probably moved about 500 yards, and at least about 500 yards. And towards the end of my journey, I heard it again. I heard another cat meow. What? And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Well,
So
I came
this
back.
is like a house cat meow, not like a...
Yep.
Really?
Just like a house cat meow.
Like a cougar cub, perhaps?
No. Well, I came... Because I've heard mountain lions scream in the woods before. I used to live in Oregon, and I did a lot of...
I'm sure you
rafting down the Rogue River and stuff, and I heard a mountain lion scream and stuff, so I've heard them scream, so I know what they sound like. I came back and I talked to Jose, and I'm like, what the hell makes this, Jose from my season?
Yep.
I said, what the hell makes this little cute meow sound? And he says, Larry, take a look at this YouTube video. And it was a mountain lion that was just kind of chilling and meowing once in a while. What? So I had a mountain lion twice outside my shelter within about 60 or 80 yards of my shelter.
That's crazy.
Just a straight up house cat meow.
Wow.
And they can be full grown and sound like that too.
Well,
not
yeah,
just a cub.
think about how they have evolved.
I imagine. Yeah, how the hell did we get house cats?
From mountain lions.
Or lions.
I don't know, just
lions or
bobcats,
lynx or whatever, yeah, all the things.
Which one do you think was first? It had to be the biggest one, right?
Well, the bigger ones.
They got smaller?
Well, I think they started big, and I don't know what the biggest one is considered. I mean, tigers. I think tigers are more badass than lions.
Yeah, I think a tiger's going to win a fight most of the time.
Yeah.
Between a tiger and a lion. Like a male lion.
Oh, because male lions are lazy.
Yeah. The male lions are a little... Yeah, they just let the women do the hunting, like, bring me my food.
They're like Al Bundy, sitting on the couch with their hand down their pants.
Yeah.
Bring me a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Every once in a while, they got to fight another male lion.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they just kind of hang out and
I got this scar. I was in a fight.
make
I gave
babies.
Yeah. I don't know. They're those big cats. They're crazy because you think about dogs. Dogs derived from wolves too and evolved.
Foxes.
Foxes.
The Silver Fox Project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, that creeps me out. That a fully grown mountain lion can sound like a house cat. And
yeah, it was pretty creepy. I remember I
gotta find
am
that.
really cautious in the woods and stuff, and they gave us a
yeah.
headlamp, and I remember going to my creek in the middle of the night, or when it was definitely dark, and just looking up on the cliffs above me, thinking, "Man, I sure as hell hope there's not a mountain lion waiting for me."
What would you rather come
we
in
don't have nothing.
Would you rather come in contact with a fully grown like male black bear or a fully grown mountain lion?
Black bear.
I would fight a black bear with a toothpick before
Right? Probably black bear,
Exactly.
right?
Mountain lion.
Especially
Yeah.
a male, like one with no cubs.
Mountain lions. Mountain lions are
bears
sneaky.
are just the bullies of the woods.
Yeah, but mountain lions will actually hunt you and
They're
seek you out
ninjas.
from inside, if you're walking or biking somewhere, they'll actually hunt you down, like stalk you.
They can't help it.
Like you have a house cat at home that does that. You see them do it.
So Larry, say during your season you're hearing all these meows, right? And
Meow.
it's not a mountain lion, but the producers decide that it might be interesting to let an actual run-of-the-mill house cat free in your area and just see what you do. Does he get it and keep it with him as a companion to help stave off the crushing loneliness, or does he fry it up and eat that thing?
Well, they could have done that, I suppose, but they'd be some pretty rotten sons of bitches to do that. But I do remember talking to, they would check on us every once in a while and change our batteries and stuff. And they said, "Did you have any animal encounters?" And I said, "Well, I hear this one cat meow thing." And one of the survival, consultants was like, "That's a mountain lion." And I'm like, "You son of a bitch, you're trying to scare me. Screw you. I'm not going to get scared from what you say is a mountain lion or whatever." But no, I'm pretty sure it was a mountain lion. That is one good thing about this show, and we've actually had so throughout the seasons, they've had different survival consultants, and then also one or two that have stayed the same. And I've gotten to know a couple of them semi-well, and they always say, they say, "Larry, we've worked on other shows," which I'm not going to name, but there's other shows that are more, they add drama to it, they add whatever. They always say Alone is the most realistic survival show out there. There's no other show that lets you film everything yourself and leaves you alone. Every other show has a camera crew, if not right there with you, at least semi close.
Well, yeah.
And
I think that unfortunately there's other survival shows before Alone or around the same time that kind of made that impact of they're fake or whatever, or they're
I think most
portrayed
of them are
as
fake.
being I think a lot of them are, but with Alone, people that are listening, it's real. Like, you guys need to check it out.
Well,
I've never felt bad about saying, but I've never wanted or needed to hide anything from my experience. I filmed everything myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything was real. Nobody gave me anything. I've always felt very comfortable in the fact that I did what I did on my own.
Well, they basically they dropped you off in the spot. They gave you cameras to record, to self-document what you were doing daily. And then if you decided I'm injured or I need help, they gave you was it like a
sat phone.
Sat phone or flares that you could light off or whatever?
If anybody says, they give you a satellite phone, they did medical checks every once in a while, that's not real. That's just an asshole, because it's a TV show and they have liabilities and they can't just let the contestants die every season. So, they got to make sure the contestants survive this thing.
Well, and that's because the contestants are badass and they'll actually just keep going because it's something that they're passionate about. So they want to check on them and make sure.
Some dudes dip out after one day.
Right. Well, that's one thing that I try to have a thick skin and stuff. But when people say, "Oh, it's not real," you got checked on, F you, man.
Right?
I was out there by myself. Why don't you come out, you fat...
Exactly. They have to
For
check on you.
For 64 days.
These people don't realize that it's still a TV show. They can't let you die out there.
Well, how are you gonna recharge your batteries and
exactly and
give your
exactly.
You know how many media cards I went through? They would give me like 20 media cards.
I'm sure.
And if you were going to be out there for as long as I was without getting a check, they would have to literally give me. I already had a Pelican case that was probably 3 or 4 feet wide, long, and probably 2 feet deep, and I would have to probably have about 5 or 6 of those full of batteries and media cards just to keep my cameras rolling. Because we had GoPros, we had a small JVC camera, and then we had a bigger camera that we called it our big camera, and the batteries in there only last, I believe it's 150 minutes. So if I'm filming 8 to 10 hours a day, I'm going through a lot of batteries, and the media cards I think are only 6 hours long. So I mean, just add all that up. And they told us, they said, this filming is going to be your full-time job.
Well, yeah,
so
you're not only trying to survive in this place that you're in and trying to find food and warmth and shelter, but your main job is to record what you're doing. So that takes away from everything else.
You're the film crew.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And there's only, in my opinion, there's 2 shows that are along your style. Like yours is a contestant style show, so the competition with a group of people that were separated by miles apart. And then there's like Survivor Man. Those are the 2 shows that are under the only umbrella of the people that are the main focus of the show are filming themselves. There's no camera crew.
Mm-hmm.
And it's legit.
Isn't there another one?
I have. I really looked up to Les Stroud for quite a while until I was on Alone, and he kind of bashed my show and said that it was all fake and produced.
He did?
And I've actually talked to a cameraman from my show who said that they have a production team that follows him around. So I don't want to badmouth him too much, but my show's real, bud.
Oh no, Larry Roberts. When was he bashing your guys' show Alone?
He's done it quite often.
Really?
Yeah,
Rude.
I've actually commented on. I used to follow him on Facebook, followed him on Twitter, everything. I thought he was just awesome, and
right.
To sit there and bash. I mean, most people with class usually don't bash other people's shows because they don't know. He said he's in the know and he knows exactly how the show was done. Well, he obviously doesn't because I was there and I know firsthand how it was done.
Right.
And I also have talked to cameramen who know people who've been on his show that have followed him around.
That's unfortunate.
How is there a production team? So, there's possibly...
They just don't show them.
Possibly a production team on some of those episodes.
Yeah, they just don't show them.
It wasn't just him. That would be very unfortunate if not only he... And this is all allegedly. It's very important that we say allegedly. This is hearsay, but that would really be unfortunate if somebody like Les Stroud, because I'm with you, he was one of the guys that introduced me to the whole, survival type scenario, learning these skills. Les Stroud was the one that kind of pioneered it, and it would be really unfortunate if he is not only bashing all the other shows, but while he's bashing other shows, he's also fibbing a bit with his show.
Well, just take a look at his Facebook posts. They're not pleasant, and whatever. I mean, I think at the beginning, he probably did everything on his own, and but whatever. All I'll say is he goes out for about 3 or 4 days. The rest of us went out for a while.
Exactly. Well, and I think that whether you're doing you're on a show, he's on a show, 1,400 other people are on a show. You're all doing the same thing that you love and are passionate about. Why not support each other? Why talk smack about it?
I used to be in the camp of where I would look at shows like Man vs. Wild, and I'd be like, Bear Grylls is a bitch. He's sleeping in a hotel every night.
He is a bitch.
Everything he's doing is staged. It's all set up. But then, when after all the mini shows that have come out, and I haven't periodically watched all of them, but I've seen a little bit of pretty much all of them. And I start to get the idea that, the important thing is that these shows are out there, whether they're legit or not. Obviously, I have way more respect for the legitimate shows where it's not all produced scenarios and things like that.
Well, they should be legit.
But I agree. Those are way more entertaining, and I have way more respect for them. But I think the grand scheme of things, the important thing is that they're out there. Because even Bear Grylls, Man vs. Wild, it's all set up scenarios. And a lot of them are things that you may not ever use. You're not going to go rappelling down the side of an iceberg, most likely.
But he always goes the route like, I'm going to eat something super gross and disgusting.
They go over the top sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, even if it's a setup scenario, they're not giving you fake skills. They're not like making up the skills. They are teaching you, whether it's a setup scenario or not, they are teaching you valuable information.
Are they?
Right?
Yeah,
Do we
absolutely.
agree?
Yeah,
Do we
they
agree?
are, for the most part.
That's the important thing.
Some things I don't agree with some of the shows with the risks that they take. But if you watch them, and if you just use common sense, you can usually glean some skills that they've used that will help you. Every time I watch it, I usually find something out, unless it's like a really ridiculous show. But you watch it and you're like, oh, dude, I never thought of doing it that way. Or,
right.
Even if it's just one thing from an hour-long show,
right?
If you can get past the drama and get past the weird stuff or whatever. But I don't know. I love them.
Well, like the time, because I watched Man vs. Wild for a while before I realized that it was fake and all set up. And the episode where he was in some Alaskan wilderness, some place where it was all ice and freezing water, and he happened to find a seal and was able to skin it and turn the blubber skin into a vest to keep him warm.
What?
Obviously, those type of scenarios are going to happen very few and far between. But I'd like to think if I did happen to find myself in that scenario, because I watched that episode, I know how to make a seal skin vest.
I would just cuddle with the seal and make it keep me warm.
Keep myself a little bit more warm. You're gonna cuddle the dead carcass of a seal.
No, I'm just gonna snuggle with it. I'm not gonna cut it. I'm just gonna make the blubber next to me. I'm gonna start a fire, and it's gonna keep me warm.
But I mean, what I'm trying to get at is that the fact that these shows are out there, and even a Man vs. Wild, as much as it's hard to stomach how fake it is and set up it is, he is still showing us legitimate skills. I don't hold as much value in it as a show like yours, where it really digs into it and you really get to see. They exaggerate things on a show like Man vs. Wild. They try to go for the shock and awe a lot more.
Right.
But a show like Alone, and even a show like Survival Man, production team or not, you really get to see the ins and outs of like an entire day out in survival or an entire night. You really get to
let his production team records for him. Okay, so I want to talk about
there's value in that.
There is. I'm not a fan. I want to talk about the 10 things that you decided to bring on your season. Do you remember what they are?
Yes, this is an elite list.
This list is amazing. I think this list is great.
I imagine there had to be a lot of thought put into 10 items you get to bring out there for an undisclosed amount of time.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of thought, and then there was a lot of changing our minds as well. Let's see. I took a sleeping bag.
Yep. What was the rating?
20 below. It was a Whitney sleeping bag. I think they're made here in Minnesota.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So then I took a ferro rod.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a knife.
Yep. Bushcraft knife. Yep.
Yep. And I took a fishing kit, which was just some monofilament line and some hooks.
Yep, 300 yards of line and 25 assorted hooks.
Yep.
25 hooks.
You can buy it on Amazon.com.
Why do you need so many hooks? Jeez, that's a lot of hooks, Larry. That's too many.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. I was living the life. I don't know what I was thinking.
High on the hog
what else
with
did
hooks.
I took a metal pot.
Yep,
Yes.
2-quart pot with a lid.
Well, I'm big on the metal
Yep.
pot.
And I took an axe.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a saw.
Yep. Collapsible saw.
And some paracord, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Two more
I can't
things.
remember the...
How
Oh, a
much
gill net.
Yes.
Gill net. Son of a gun, was that a pain in the butt.
Really? For
Good
catching
God,
fish?
I wanted to throw that thing in the fire so
Because it
bad.
got so tangled all the time?
Oh, it was so hard to set up. Could you imagine? I was
No.
out there in low tide, pounding with I made stakes, these huge, like, vampire stakes, like, huge, and drove them into the sea bottom. This is my second
Sea
location.
bottom.
I drove them in, and then I had to drive stakes in triangular to those particular poles to use as, like, so those were my anchor points. So I had one big main pole and then two off to the side stakes, and I would use cordage to, spread to stabilize those two poles.
Yep.
And before I moved to my second location, my first location, I couldn't drive those stakes into the ground. It was all like bedrock. So I had to grab rocks off the beach and carry them out into the water and stack rocks all around these stakes. Oh my God, it was such a pain in the ass. And I only got like 2 or 3 fish out of that damn gill net.
And then Nicole let that salmon go.
Oh, like I said, I wanted to put my foot right through the teeth.
You cocky son of a bitch.
Nicole, you're fucking kidding me.
She's like, I got a cooler full of stuff.
I have like 70 pounds of salmon right now. I don't need this. I can just let
I'm
him
so
go.
full. I need to let him go.
Yeah,
Be
right?
fruitful with your loins and go reproduce and
then
blah
she-
blah blah. I just stabbed it in the heart with a
Choked
knife.
out a black bear, and then she had a bunch of black bear meat.
Oh, I know. Well, she's awesome.
Yeah, she is
What are you
awesome.
gonna do? What are you gonna do?
So you got most of your fish from the old line and hook method.
Yep. What I would do is I would once again have to take these stakes out into the water and pile a bunch of rocks around them, and then I would string line between 2 stakes, and then I would tie hooks with a leader. It's a trot line, they call it, and I would have to collect shellfish that could have been eaten, but I used it for bait instead. Sometimes I ate them, but sometimes I use it for bait, and then bait your hooks, and then hopefully during low tide, which low tide most of the time, the hardcore low tides, was in the middle of the night. If there was a full moon, it was around 5 or 6 in the evening, right after the sun went down, and then as the moon waned or whatever, it would get later and later in the evening. So what I would do if I knew the tide was going to happen late in the evening, I would hydrate quite a bit in the evening because I'm an old man and I usually have to pee in the middle of the night. So I would wake up and I would pee, and that would be my alarm clock so that I'd know that, it was time to go check my lines.
That's awesome. That's smart.
Nice. You synchronized your
Yeah.
race. That's impressive.
So was that hard for you? I mean, you said you lived in California before, but obviously being in Minnesota, we live around a lot of water / lakes, but the oceans and the tides and all
Yeah,
that
you didn't
stuff.
have fresh water, right?
The moons and the tides, that's a whole another thing in itself. But did you have any experience with that before? Or was that something that you just kind of figured out when you were there?
It was mostly stuff that I figured out before. I knew
Okay.
that there was going to be a low tide and a high tide,
Right.
but I didn't realize there was 2 high tides and 2 low tides, and one of them, one cycle was greater than the other. In other words, they usually have a really high tide and a really low tide, and then a semi-high tide and a semi-low tide in a 24-hour period, if I am getting that correctly, because that's what I kind of noticed out there.
Right. Question.
But yeah, it was... Go ahead.
Would you ever let your ferro rod get in, if you had a ferro rod as one of your items, would you ever let it drop into the sand and disappear into the ocean like one of the contestants did? Do you remember that contestant? He didn't try
remember that
to,
contestant,
but
and
you hold
tried
on to
really
that
hard.
like that's your life. Like you can't let that go. Like I think I lost it. That was sad.
It was a bummer. I mean, he was going through a lot of... I mean, it's an amazing experience when the boat leaves or the plane leaves or whatever, and you're out there, and then all of a sudden you're
What
in
kind of
this
vessel you're
Jurassic
in on?
Park type forest, and you're like, holy crap, now I said I could do it, now it's time to man up and do it. And it's a wake-up call for everybody.
I'm sure. And it's crazy watching it as a fan, like seeing where people get dropped off. Like, this is maybe something that's going to help them, but this is also something that's going to hurt them based on their location. And maybe they have a good food source there. They don't have a good food source, but they don't have to worry about predators. Or it just seemed like all the places they picked where the drop-off sites had kind of a lot of thought put into them, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, they research it. They drop their survival consultants off, and they walk around it, and they look for fresh water. And to answer your question, Sarge, I did have a freshwater creek in both locations.
You did?
Yeah, because you can't just live off seawater. You'd have to make some sort of distillation device or something. I just drank right out of the creek. I didn't even boil my water.
You didn't even boil it?
No, it was really clean water. And it would rise and fall depending on, obviously, the rainfall. So that's actually, the creek is actually what I used as my refrigerator. If I ever caught extra mice or extra fish, I would clean them, and then I would put them in the creek, and I would put a bunch of rocks on top of it. And the creek was really cold, so it would act as a refrigerator.
Oh, that's perfect.
I figured that the water, be pretty tough for a bear to smell a fish through the water. I know they can probably, but still, I would put the fish in there and just pile a bunch of rocks on it so they couldn't see anything. They couldn't see it, and then the next day when it was time to eat, I'd just go to the creek, go to my refrigerator, and pull out some food.
That's awesome. So, I also don't. When I think of bear predators, I always think of grizzlies or brown bears. I don't that often think of black bears, just because. I don't know. They're just
seem less intimidating.
They
They're smaller generally.
I know I've seen documentaries where they've attacked people and stuff like that, but Vancouver Island has one of the biggest concentrations of black bears.
Yeah, and I don't think get hunted.
Nope.
Quite like they do here in Minnesota. We have a very populous state for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So I've hunted black bear on my property. I've shot black bear on my property. I've chased them off from eating out of my dog dish out in my front yard. I've chased them away from my poor son, when he was up in the deer stand. He's like, "Dad, everything's okay, but there's a bear underneath my stand," And I'm like, hustled down there and, get out of here, and they take off. But some of those black bears in Vancouver Island, if they haven't been pushed or made known that man is at the top, they'll
no fear
flip
of
you
us.
the paw,
Yeah, they have no reason to fear us.
No.
With no, prior experience or interaction with humans, they have no reason to fear us. They're just like, oh, what's this soft, pink, fleshy animal roaming through my hood? I'm going to jack this dude up. Who does he think he is?
Well, yeah, there's that YouTube video from a couple years ago where this guy, I want to say he was in either Canada or Minnesota, Wisconsin, one of those up by us, and he was in his deer stand, and this black bear just started climbing up this tree. This thing was not little. He probably was, I'd say, 350, 400 pounds.
It seemed like the bear didn't even know he was there.
He didn't know that he was there. And he just started climbing up this tree, like running up it in a weird way. And the hunter was like, oh, crap.
Well, the bear must have been spooked by something, because bears don't climb trees unless they're spooked, right? They don't just climb trees.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know about that.
He probably smelled something.
Why else would they climb a tree?
You never know because bears climb trees either to investigate or to get away from something, like you were saying.
Okay.
But if that deer hunter was wearing scent, like I know a lot of times bow hunters in particular will use vanilla for a scent, to a cover-up scent. It's a I don't know how to say it, a curiosity type scent for deer. But it's also an attractant for bear, because around here we bait bears, or I bait bear, and you use anise oil, which is it's like licorice kind of.
Licorice, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you can use vanilla
Black
oil
licorice.
and molasses and stuff. So maybe maybe he had deer urine on his clothes, or a lot of bow hunters will put they actually sell these pads that will stick to the bottom of your boot soles, and you can put deer urine or scent on there, and then you walk through the woods, and instead of smell like a human, you smell like whatever, a skunk
Like
or
you're
a
part of
fox
the
or
woods.
something. Right. So that potentially could have been what happened. Also, everybody says that these animals will never attack humans, and they're way more scared of you than you are of them, and that's for the most part true. But if you look back, and I don't have the resource in front of me right now, but at least maybe a couple of years ago, there was a kid, I think a 12-year-old kid in Ely, I think, that was hammock camping with his dad, and I thought it was a wolf, but someone else told me it was a bear. Dragged him out of his hammock, and his dad had to come rescue him.
Oh, jeez.
So
I would be surprised if it was like
even
coyote.
in our state,
or coyote. Coyotes, those little bastards. They're not scared. You hear stories about how a coyote, middle of the day, will stroll through a park and like jack a little kid. Just grab a little kid or grab little dogs.
I've had them through my front yard. My daughter was playing ball with the dogs, and I've got this little tiny Jack Russell. And my daughter came in. She was freaked out. She grabbed both dogs, yanked them in. She's like, "Dad, a coyote just ran right in front of me when I was playing ball with the dogs, and it was just trotting, just checking stuff out.
Yeah.
It was daylight, like 3, 4 in the afternoon.
Right. Crazy.
It gets this cold, and they're gonna do
Yep.
what they got to do to survive.
They're
just
going
like
to be a
everybody
little
else.
bit more daring and a little bit more
Well,
ballsy.
it's weird. I grew up in northern Minnesota, like 30 miles north of Bemidji, in a tiny little town called Black Duck, and that's the sticks. That's where I grew up, and I never saw a coyote. I saw a black bear once when I was a kid. Obviously saw tons of deer. Never saw any wolves. But then, since I moved to the Twin Cities, 5-6 years ago, and I've seen coyotes a bunch of times.
Well, because we're invading their habitat.
Well, it's just so weird that you see them in like a metropolitan area or a suburban area, and they are not afraid whatsoever. It'll be middle of the day, and they're just trotting along, checking shit out. Like, they have no fear of us.
Well, and
it's like the deer population. There's more deer in Minnesota and Wisconsin than there ever was back in the day because of the crops that we farm. And so if you're going to have that prey, you're going to have more predators. And it's just like in the Twin Cities where you have parks. I'm sure you guys have squirrels all over the place. You got
everywhere.
Squirrels.
In my neighborhood,
rabbits,
I basically feel like Snow White in my neighborhood because there's rabbits and squirrels all over the place, especially in the spring. And it's weird because in my neighborhood there's a bunch of albino squirrels.
Do you sing to them?
No, I don't sing to them.
Like
But
Snow White?
I probably would if they were.
Or is that Cinderella?
No, that's Snow White.
It's both.
But there's albino squirrels, like multiple ones, like probably
there's
8 to
a bunch
10
of
albinos.
and there's a bunch of black squirrels.
I've only
which
seen
is
a black
different
squirrel
variation.
once. Yeah,
I've never seen a black squirrel. That'd
I've
be
only
cool.
seen one once. Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
But there was an article in like the local paper this summer where a husband and wife were running at a local park, like maybe 5 minutes from where we are, and she got attacked in the face by a coyote. Like she was
That's
Really?
weird. She's a fully
It was like-
grown woman.
It was 7:30 in the morning.
That's
She was in a
strange.
park that's like we live in the suburbs, and she was walking across this bridge, like across a pond, and they happened to see this coyote, like kind of, oh, there it is, and they just ignored it and just kept like jogging along their way, and it jumped up on her and bit her in the face.
That is
Wow.
That's crazy because you hear stories about coyotes jacking little dogs or cats, or every once in a while like a toddler, like trying to grab something small. But for them to be ballsy enough to try and jump for the face of a fully grown adult woman,
Right.
there had to be something wrong with that thing. It had to either have been like injured, it hadn't been able to eat. Normally had trouble hunting, couldn't hunt as effectively anymore. Something had to have been off with that thing for it to attack a fully grown adult.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that there's so much development going on in this area that they're literally, their habitats are being taken over. I mean, they are.
Go up north.
Well, no, they shouldn't have to. But they're not. They're not going to move. Like, that's not their job.
They gotta.
Well, they have to, but some of them aren't going to. Is what I'm saying.
They don't want to live. They don't want to live.
Well, then they bite other people in the face. That's what I'm saying.
They keep biting people in the face in the park. Then they're gonna become extinct real quick. Because I guarantee humans will not put up with that shit.
Yeah, but it's also not like...
Are coyotes endangered?
No, they're not endangered.
Me and Frenzy have this thing every once in a while as we think of it. We have like a keep it and get rid of it list when it comes to creatures and animals, any creature on the planet.
Yeah.
And every time we think of it, we'll be like...
why do we have that? We don't need that.
Coyotes. We put it on the keep it list or we get rid of it. And we're like, yeah, we don't need those things. Screw coyotes. And we'll put it on the get rid of it list.
Yeah. They, coyotes, I have a love-hate relationship with coyotes. Every coyote I see, I want to shoot just because there's so dang many of them. Mm-hmm. But they're so cute. They're so awesome, and they are a needed part of the ecosystem. I mean, they definitely control the rats and the mice and the rabbits and stuff like that. But then on the other hand, they're fawn killers and they're pet stealers. So I mean, everything's got pluses and minuses. But coyotes, there's no season on them for a reason because it's open season. You could even hunt them at night.
Really?
You can do whatever. Oh yeah, you can hunt them at night.
Interesting.
Wolves are different.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the coyote population ebbs and flows with the wolf population. And up by me, my neighbor has said that he's actually started hearing some wolves. And just like, so the wolves prey on the coyotes, and the coyotes prey on the foxes. So if the foxes are abundant, the coyotes are going to, in turn, be abundant. Which, if there's a bunch of coyotes, then they're going to, potentially decimate the rabbit population and the grouse population. And then they're going to go into a starving cycle. And then the wolves can come in and, it's just this huge ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. And then what people don't understand is that if you're going to regulate deer and regulate rabbit and regulate grouse, you have to regulate the predators. Because if you're going to control the ebb and flow of nature, you have to control all of it. That's
you just can't control a part of it.
It can be amazing.
You can't just control the prey. You have to control the predators.
Exactly.
As well.
It can be amazing how, the implementation of one species into a certain ecosystem can completely change the entire dynamic of that ecosystem. It can either greatly benefit it across many other species, or it can decimate it in some ways. Like, what was that story that you were talking to me about, Frenzy, about the wolves in Yellowstone or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's
all these insane changes. They started introducing wolves to was it Yellowstone?
Yeah, it's in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
You're familiar with this story?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, all the cattle producers are losing all their cows and the sheep are all losing. The sheep farmers are all losing their sheep, and they're freaking out, and they're oh my god. Yeah.
So
you start adding predators like that. Yellowstone isn't. You can't just. This is just my opinion, but you can't just regulate however big Yellowstone is. Let's just say it's 50,000 acres or whatever. You're introducing wolves back into this ecosystem where they were extinct or, starting to get on the decline for a reason. Maybe overpopulated, maybe overhunting, which in that case, great, go ahead and add them back. But all these, it's just like the crops and deer. The deer are going to just decimate the corn. If you add wolves into these areas, they're going to decimate these farmers, these ranchers' herds. That's what they're going to prey on because a sheep is way easier to hunt than a deer or a moose or whatever.
Absolutely, but in Yellowstone, when the wolves were gone, the elk populations started to rise, and then they basically ate every living vegetation thing that was there, and all the plants started dying off. So and then there was the whole thing with there's just so many things that factor in the predator-prey kind of thing, but...
So, Larry Rivers, let me ask you this. Do you believe that us as human beings, are we like the stewards of this planet? Are we the ones that are meant to kind of
be advocates?
Help, be the ones that guide the ecosystem of this planet? Or is it up to us to decide, based on wolf populations and elk populations and whatnot? Are we the ones that are supposed to control that, or do we just stand back and kind of let shit happen?
No, I think we should harvest anything that comes across our path.
Well, yeah,
No,
that's
just
different,
kid-
though.
just
Well,
kidding.
No. Harvest is
No,
different.
Totally. We should be the stewards. I mean, we're the ones that we have the intelligence and you can't just. No, man. We have done a horrible job regulating the game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We've done a horrible job in a lot of
animals
aspects.
in this.
We've
this
been the
country.
cause of
I
a
know
lot of things.
A lot of people follow back on the Bible, and I'm not a huge Bible thumper by any stretch of the imagination, but people say, God put the animals on this earth for us to utilize. But if you do believe in God or whatever, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean go out and go whaling or go out and go cutting the fins off sharks and throwing them back in the ocean.
Gross.
Or doing all this
Killing
stuff.
elephants for
I
their
don't know.
tusks.
Right,
Some pretty
killing
creepy shit in
elephants
the
for
Bible.
tusks or rhinos for horns or whatever. No, absolutely. I just think that we need to have a better management system. And like I said, I don't think you can regulate the prey without regulating the predators. I mean, if it's a slippery slope. Once you get into it, you dove in both feet first. I mean, you have to regulate everything down to the bugs. I mean, think about, I don't know, I live out in the country out here, so it seems like every year there seems to be there's a pestilence, whether it's deer flies or whatever. But some of the man-made things are these damn Asian beetles.
Oh my gosh, they're so
been
bad.
Years I've been out here, there's just swarming around me and stuff, and I'm thinking, well, was this maybe you're not using pesticides, and that's great, but did anybody think about this at all?
So bad.
What do these Asian beetles do, or it's terrible to hunt wolves, and yet on the other hand, wolves are starving to death. And if you're going to hunt deer and you're going to hunt rabbits and you're going to hunt coyotes, you're going to have to hunt wolves, and it sucks because they're cute and cuddly.
Right.
But that's what you're going to have to do.
Why is it so difficult to find a balance between hunting?
I don't know.
Predators.
Because the DNR is a bunch of dumbasses.
Yeah. It's super fucking stupid.
I'm conflicted on the whole idea because I'm not a Bible toter by any means. I don't believe in anything because I don't know anything. I haven't seen anything with my own two eyes. So I'm just kind of, I believe what I can see. And so that means that nobody appointed us as the stewards of this planet among all the other animals that we obviously have domain over because we're the most intelligent. That's just the way it is. We obviously are the most intelligent species. So does that mean by default we are supposed to be the stewards just because we're the top of the heap? Because I believe we weren't appointed.
We're supposed to not be dumbasses like weasels that'll go into a chicken coop and kill every damn chicken in there just because it can.
Exactly.
We're supposed to be smarter than that and not utilize the resources inefficiently that this planet has given us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that means oxygen, whether that means animals, and folks have different philosophies with hunting and stuff, but I've seen starving deer and I've seen starving coyotes, and it's not and I've starved, and it's not a pleasant experience.
Right.
I've heard that that's one of the leading causes of death among species like deer and whatnot, where they don't necessarily die more often.
They starve to death
due to predators.
Yes,
it's due to starvation.
Well, yeah, they starve to death.
What a shitty way to go.
Well, that was one of the whole reasons why hunting even became a major thing, where it was okay back in the day, is because if there's too many deer, there's not enough food for them to eat.
Right. But that's what makes me, it's just something I'm conflicted with. Like, obviously we're the smartest species. Like, if nobody's going to help manage the ecosystem, I mean, if it's not us, nobody else is going to do it. We're the only ones with the capabilities to manage it.
But we're also the ones that are fucking up the ecosystem, too.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
You have to regulate people that are dumbasses that don't
Exactly.
understand
That's the thing
things.
is
because otherwise I could go out back.
We consume so much. We consume so much when it comes to the fish and life that we pull out of the sea, to the animals that are on the land that we consume. I mean, how we consume so much, and then as a result, we have to like regulate the natural side of things, the things that we don't consume.
Right.
Well, and it's unethical consuming. I don't even know if that's a proper term
when you
or
don't,
whatever, but like I was saying, instead of having shark fin soup, why don't you kill the whole shark and feed 15 people or 20 people instead of one rich guy?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I'm all about if there's a herd of deer that are starving, like, go hunt them or make sure they're not overpopulated or whatever. And I'm probably the biggest animal lover.
Yeah.
One of the biggest that's out there.
If the deer are starving and they can't eat, well, kill that deer so that you can eat, right?
Or another animal can
saying?
eat. Not that I want to eat, but another animal can eat. Or
you're just gonna kill it and leave it there?
No, someone else, a coyote or somebody else would eat
it. You don't eat deer?
No, I've eaten deer. My dad's a deer hunter, duck hunter, fisherman.
Good.
I've eaten all the things. I love venison.
One thing I've had to try to counsel my wife on, and my wife is a huge cat lover.
Don't eat cats.
We have people up by us that have these, they're called barn cats, and they're just basically feral cats.
Feral cats, yep.
Right. Well, we had this cute little kitten living under our chicken coop, and it was just the cutest thing ever, but its eyes were runny, and it was just horrible looking. And at the time, we had an outside cat, and I told my wife, I said, look, this cat is having a bad, bad life. You can tell it's got some sort of disease, and it's cute and cuddly right now, but it's going to eventually either get your healthy cats sick, or it's going to kill our animals, because we had a hobby farm for a long time. And it's like, look, man, it sucks, but I'm going to have to shoot this thing because it's just not a healthy thing to have living around your house. It'd be like having a rabid coyote living around your house, or having a rabid, whatever, some sort of sick animal. You got to put it out of its misery, And that's just unethical people not spaying or neutering their animals or whatever. But
absolutely. Well, and it's also the whole people being, not that your wife is selfish, but I have a dog that's old and she's like ready to go, but I'm not ready to let her go yet. But that's me being selfish, kind of thing, And I used to be a vet tech. Like, I went to school to do that, and I did that for a long time. So I've seen it so many times, but it's just hard when it's like your own peeps.
Yeah.
It's hard. I've had to put a bullet in quite a few of my animals, but I mean, it sucks and it's sad and everything. But if you love your animal, I mean, hell, I'd rather someone put a bullet in my head than me go to a nursing home or something.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
Well, what do you got coming up in the near future, Larry?
Well, I'm going to be teaching at Dave Canterbury's Pathfinder School coming up.
Yes.
And I'm going to get you the dates on that. And then I'm also going to be teaching a class with Nicole, because like I said, she's my sister.
Yes,
awesome.
That's awesome.
She does a great impression of you, too, by the way.
Yeah, you do a good one of her as well.
I don't
I've
like
heard
hers
both.
of mine.
You don't?
No.
I wish I had those. I wish I could pull those up.
We will not talk about that anymore.
Okay.
No, I'm totally teasing. No, we totally joke around with each other. So April 25th through, well, maybe the 20. I don't know. You have to look on the internet, but basically April 26th through the 29th, something like that. I'm to help teach a basic class at Dave Canterbury's school, and then also my
class with Nicole is around May 17th.
Okay.
17th to like the 21st or so. And I'm actually had a few people contact me regarding one of my own classes, and I'm going to be teaching one, I think, in September, just in our little local area here, just a basic survival class. And other than, and I'm also teaching, there's a gathering, there's a gentleman who is a very nice guy, Between the Rivers, Patrick Farnaman, Between the Rivers gathering. And I can't even remember where it's at. I think it's in Washington. It's out west someplace.
Between the Rivers?
Yep, Between the Rivers gathering. And that's going to be June 1st through, I don't know, approximately the 4th or so. But that's a little local, not huge, but it's one of them primitive skills gathering. But I'm going to
May 28th through June 2nd.
I'm sorry?
May 28th through June 2nd. In northeastern Washington.
May when?
28th through June 2nd.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yep.
That's okay.
I can't even read my wife's writing here on the calendar. She's my secretary, and I can't read anything.
My handwriting is terrible too because I'm a lefty. It's
I
bad.
agree.
Oh, whatever.
You left-handed people cannot write well.
That's because we do everything else
bit.
amazingly. We don't even need to write well.
You overcompensate in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we're going to rule the world.
Exactly.
When's the next Minnesota event? Because I know me and Frenzy want to get in on something you got going on here in the beautiful state of Minnesota.
Well, for you guys, come on up anytime. Give me a call, and if I'm free, I'll be able to. We'll do a little mini class or something like what George and Tracy did for you. Otherwise, awesome. It's going to be September for an organized class.
Okay.
I think anyway.
I guarantee we're going to want to touch base with you before then. That's too far away.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Especially in the summertime.
I work in the cities all the time, and I can stay the night at my son's house or whatever. We can go to a local park, and
awesome.
I can show you some things.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
That'd be a blast.
We should invite George to come too.
Yeah.
No, not George. George.
Oh, whatever. You love George.
George is awesome. Yes, I do love George. George is awesome. He's always a part of my stuff for sure.
You guys both have glorious beards.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I don't know about George's, but mine's glorious.
He's working on it. Hey, give the guy some time. He's working.
You need to show him some more tips.
He'll get there.
He's got to show me some more. I tell you what, if you want to know about hammock camping, he's the guy.
Yes.
If you want to know about different ins and outs of hammock camping, I've wanted to do a class with him, a hammock / survival type class, because hammock camping is becoming quite popular. And it's actually, if you've got a bad back, it really is a lot nicer than sleeping on the ground. But he knows. I mean, you have to spend a little bit of money, but he knows the gear ins and outs. And yeah, he's a great guy.
I would be curious to
Very
learn
cool.
some of that hammock camping.
Yeah.
I got done. Okay. All right. It is time to pull this train to the station. Frenzy, are you done?
Yes. I unfortunately have to go use the restroom.
Okay. I can't believe you held it this whole time.
I know. I've got a really good still bladder.
I think I peed like twice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Larry Roberts, thank you so much, brother. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us tonight. This has been a blast.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to looking more into basswood and what's the other fungus? It begins with a C.
Well, basswood's a good tree for a bow drill fire. Otherwise, the funguses
the aspen that grow on birch trees, right?
Yep. So you got a chaga on the birch tree. You got the horse hoof on the birch tree, and then also you have a birch polypore that's AKA the strop fungus, where you can actually sharpen your knife on it.
Oh, okay,
Damn.
so I've got all of those pulled up as little kind of tags on my computer, so I'm going to research some more of that stuff tomorrow. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Let's get together this summer and do something.
Okay.
That would be a lot of fun. Then we don't have to worry about this cold weather stuff. We'll work up to the cold weather stuff.
Oh man, summer seems so far
let's
away.
Start out with some warm weather stuff. But let's get together like this spring or this summer and do something.
That'd be awesome.
In person. That'd be
I'll
a lot
have
of fun.
a face. I'm going to have an event, probably approximately, I don't know yet, May or June.
Yes. Okay.
Up in my area, that's going to be a friends and family get together to check something out that maybe I was a part of, and so you're more than welcome. I'll contact you about that when it's going to happen.
Okay,
awesome.
That'd be awesome. Would love that.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you again, brother. We really, really appreciate you sharing your time with us tonight. It's been a blast.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All good things must come to an end, and they're here to pick me up. It's been fun. It's been emotional. I'm ready to go home. Here they are, man. It's been a hell of a journey. I did the best I could, man. I'm sorry.
Mother Nature, she's a tough cookie, huh?
Yeah.
You have done something you can't ever dream or physically do yourself.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
It's just been emotionally trying dealing with all the cravings and all the hunger, and I'm just done with it. I'm done, man. I'm freaking hungry. I need a cheeseburger now. That's all there is to it.
It's over. You're over it.
I ain't never quit nothing in my life. I feel like puking almost. I ain't never quit nothing ever. I never quit nothing. And to quit just sucks. Like, I never felt like this ever. It's just really emotional, and this is part of the calorie deprivation is this emotion. You know, you don't know how to feel. I mean, I'm gonna miss this place. It's been a hell of a view. It's a lot better than the city. It's been a pretty cool place, you know. I'm just feeling bad. I'm feeling disappointed. The only reason that I wanted to tap was because I was gonna die. I was gonna have no calories left. You can't tap until you leave everything out there, man. If you tap before you leave everything out there, what the hell did you sign up for? Being out here has indeed humbled me. It has made me realize that I'm not quite as tough as I think I am. I don't have the skills that some of the other folks do, but I got some pretty good willpower. What I've really discovered about myself is that I have to focus on what my wife talks about all the time. Just stop worrying about the fact that you're grinding away and working, and just think about the little things in life. And what I've come, and I've always known this, but my family is freaking awesome. And I need to start showing my appreciation for that. This has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. This will be one of the greatest achievements I've ever done. But it's just super, super disappointing I couldn't make it to the very end. It's like I always tell my kids when they were in sports, you know, leave it all on the field. Did you give it your all? If you did your best, that's all you can do. You can't never do more than your best. I did my best, man. That's all I can say.
It's outro time, Frenzy.
It is time for the outro.
We are done with Larry Roberts.
Yes.
From season 2 of Alone on the History Channel.
Yes.
That was a fun episode.
Super fun.
That's a badass dude.
Mm-hmm.
Super happy that we got to sit down and talk to him. This is going to be like a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Awesome guy. Also, a little extra love because he's a fellow Minnesotan.
Mm-hmm.
And can't wait to go out camping with that dude and wear some stuff.
Yes.
Hell yeah. We would like to thank our sponsors for this episode, Northland Vapor Company.
You can find them at northlandvapor.com.
Use the promo code
SARGE20 to get 20% off your order.
Also our sponsor, the TV show Comics Watching Comics.
Yes, you can find them on all the social media things. They've got seasons 1 through 4 now on Amazon Video.
Oh, shit.
And then seasons 5 and 6 are coming soon. They're also casting for seasons 7 through 8. So if you are at least 3 or 10-year comic and want to travel to New York and get a spot on the show.
Yeah, don't go in there trying to pretend like you've done 3 years of comedy when you haven't.
Yeah, they'll know.
They'll know.
Mm-hmm.
They can pick you out of a crowd, you fakers.
Fakers.
Also sponsoring this episode, Alpine Hemp.
Yes, you can find them at alpinehemp.com and use the same code SARGE20 to get 20% off.
Use it. And our final sponsor for this episode, the SportsBook Box Office Podcast.
Yes, hosted by Kevin Goatee and Jeffrey Paul.
Hell yeah, check it out. They're on all the social media or the podcast platforms.
And social media. Yep.
You'll find them.
Do
Beautiful.
it.
All right. Coming up on the Sarge Approved Podcast, guests to look forward to. We finally got to sit down with the hilarious comedian Eddie Ift.
Yes, and fellow podcaster.
Yes, and it's an interesting one. It's a little out of the ordinary, but it was a lot of fun, and so look forward to that.
Yeah, very fitting for him, too.
Yeah. Also, look forward to our 100th episode coming up with the Lair Bear himself, Larry Roberts, host of the Readily Random podcast, and a good friend of ours. He's been on the show like a million times.
Yeah, he's co-hosted all the things.
He's been a guest once and co-hosted like 12 times or something. So we figured he would be the perfect guest to have on for our 100th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So look forward to that. And then we have somebody else in the month of January. We're not telling you yet.
Nope.
It's a secret guest.
Secrets.
So, all right. We're going to play this episode out with a song by E57 called I the Pirate.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Later, fuckers.
Captain in the hole, getting ready to drown, and it's a little too late to start turning around. It's a little too late to start swimming now. And who knew one mistake could take